last 6 months, I have sort of done a personal secondment within Grosvenor. We've been running building analytics for the last 4 years. We won a contract with a company who owns a large number of CBD buildings, a company called Dexus. They're one of the largest building owners in the country. We won the job to set up analytics across their portfolio. We've been running those for 4 years. I'm now trying to move that product forward and trying to support new customers. And I'll take you through some of the things that you'll hear at the moment. And I've just been to a few conferences recently, and what I'm getting now is a lot of people talking about data and this transition of, and I'm going to talk a lot about data, but it does come back to a point where the aim and the outcome of all collecting all this data is actually to drive value within buildings. And that value is in some ways, it's quite often, a lot of that value comes out of reducing energy and water costs. Now this is what we have at the moment. And I go into a lot of boardrooms. I was in these sort of offices. And other ones, so I was at a major shopping centre just literally before I walked in the door here. And everyone's going, I've got all this data, and I've got all these problems. Why don't I just use my data to solve the problems? And everyone's going, yeah. And then and the next question sort of goes, well, I don't know it's all there. It's all over here, but it's not over here. And it's all from 7 different things over here, and no one knows what to do with it. And what we're trying to do from Grosvenor, we're very sort of simple people. We're a bunch of engineers who just want to deliver good services, quite literally, to rooms like this. We want to make sure people can sit in rooms and be comfortable in them, and we're delivering it in efficient manners. Now, at the moment, you'll hear lots of comments about the Internet of Things, and especially if you're in a university environment. I never stop hearing about it, actually. And it's things. And everyone goes, well, what things? And you'll hear people telling you a temperature sensor and all these things in your toaster. And I'm like, man, I don't care of my toaster. So I just built a house. I made it connected to actually nothing. I didn't have to put one smart thing in it at all. I've got light switches. Flick them on and off. I have this thing that if I install a smart switch, when it goes wrong, it's me who has to fix it. Whereas if I just put a flick switch in, it works. It's different in the commercial space. In the commercial space, there is a value transition for putting all this in because they don't have time to go around turning on and off the switches when they go in and out of rooms. They need to automate this process. People are saying they're going to bring in everything. All devices are going to be connected, and you'll hear it everywhere. I just had someone say he had an IoT platform. I was sat in going, what's that? I was almost having to ask, what's an IoT platform? Is it like, do we stick all them onto? I think he was, and I didn't get a chance because we were going through the meeting. I think he was saying he has a platform that pulls all these devices together. But I was wondering, well, that's good, but still, so what? And then I encourage you, every time people come and tell you, and even me, go, oh, I'm going to do this IT and I'm going to put a smart temperature sensor in. You go, so what? Oh, but it's going to do this. And you're like, well, is it? You know, what's the value of this? Why do I need my lights turned on before I get home? I can turn them on when I walk in the door. It works fine. I don't need it on before I get there. Now, Grosvenor, and this is our company has been working on data for quite a long time. And people, when they talk about all these data streams, they actually forget one of the most basic ones. And it's actually the first one here. This is the man-made data streams that are coming out of buildings as we speak. This is the bloke who walks around and checks that the air conditioning's working, checks the fire systems. That's actually, he's generating data. He fills out his sheets. Every time we go and fix something on that piece of equipment, it's logged down. We know how much it costs. If you structure it well, i.e. if you know what you actually did, like we replaced a belt and a pulley on this piece of equipment, and you keep a strong log of it, specific to that piece of equipment, you've got a data stream. And people go, oh, they like all this electronic data. There is sensible man-made data out there. Now, Grosvenor has been working for 20 years to perfect collecting man-made data, which is the data that happens when we do maintenance on a site. Then we also moved into energy data. So on the same assets in the same building, so imagine this whole building here, we're collecting all the asset data. Now, don't forget, air conditioning can represent somewhere between 50 and 80% of the total energy use on a site, depending on its configuration. Then we started collecting the energy data. So we wrote our own programs, we developed our own software, we were pulling in NIMI data, which overlaid on the site data, which also backed up our man-made data. And then as more recently, and as technologies move forward, we've now actually started pulling in all the electronic data available out of the BMS system on these sites. So on this building, there will be quite a sophisticated BMS system, and you can see in the corner there's a temperature sensor on the wall. There, on some of these sites, there may even be a system that I have, like they'll know this room's been booked out, so the air conditioning's been booked in to run for a certain period of time. This one's got a push button, which probably has a 1 or a 2 hour timer on it, and it may be or may not be logged on a system when that push button was hit. But it certainly goes back and tells the air conditioning unit in this room to start up. We now have the capability of pulling that level of data into our system. So the package unit that serves this room, we know how many hours it's run. We actually developed, funnily enough, when I joined it 8 years ago, we developed an hours run maintenance system. So our guy only turns up to replace the pulley after the unit's run more than X thousand of hours, meaning that we could predict when something was going to fail. The system worked relatively well. Whether it worked really well or not, we found out that we already knew how long pieces of equipment ran due to the hours that they were booked to run on a normal day, say in a large shopping centre. So it didn't work out quite how we thought, but we tried to do it. Now we're at this stage where we're capturing BMS data. Now, I mapped this out, and this was just some of the things. So this is just a standard commercial building. These are just some of the current data streams that are flowing in that people are looking to derive value. Now, we live in the BMS side and the HVAC side, and there's all the sensors, the whole sensor array, the fan cool units, the VAVs, all these, and these are all energy using components. They all form up a section. There may be a separate submetering system that's got water submetering, electronic submetering, but it's in a completely separate system that someone thought was brilliant, and we're just going to do it separate for anything, and it'll have its own way of talking to each of the controllers. So now I've got a completely another system I need to integrate. Now, the key is people are always talking about, how do I get this, how do I integrate all these sources? And if you walk into a shopping centre, talk people counters to people. For some reason they adore people counters. I can't quite get it, but it's just as you pass the sensor on the way in, it counts 1. But when 50 people walk through when it's really busy, it kind of counts because it's always blocked off, and it's not the most accurate counter in the world, but they love them. They want that data overlaid on something. They're not, like I had said in the first slide, they're not quite sure why, and they're not quite sure what they're going to do with it, but they certainly want it. We currently pull in local weather data, we pull in the HVAC data, the BMS data. A lot of these other ones, we do the neighbours ratings on the site, we have the utility data. The park assist, I think that's one of our aspirationals. We would like to pull that in. So, you could actually model how a car park was being occupied. So if there wasn't anyone in that area, maybe if, and I qualify if, I had the right lighting controls, I could turn off the lights in those areas. But 95% of the shopping centres in Australia don't have that level of control over their car park lighting. It's kind of, one whole area on or off. People keep on talking about cameras, and I just got reminded today, every time you walk into a shopping centre, they can track where you are, even if you're not connected to their Wi-Fi, only if you physically turn your phone off, can they not track you in a shopping centre. They'll just track the ping coming out of your phone or stuff. So people are tracking people's movements around shopping centres now, and they're trying to figure out how to do. I wouldn't worry too much because most of the big players don't seem to be particularly good at doing anything with it or even collecting it particularly effectively. And I always laughed that they said they were going to do it with their security cameras, and if you've ever actually sat in front of a security system in a shopping centre, you can't make out, it's such poor quality, you can't make out anyone's face anyway. Even if you call the police, I've watched the police be there after something happened because I was working there one day, and they couldn't make anything out on the picture. And I was thinking, well, I can't see it being this amazing face recognition software when they haven't even put half decent cameras in. And I'm sorry to keep you on data so much, we will get to the energy. People are trying to figure out how to collect data and ownership of data. So everyone wants to own their data. Now, if you want to sound like, and I've only learned, vocabulary is anything in consulting, everything in consulting. If you want to sound like you know what you're talking about, talk about data lakes. That's my latest word. Everyone wants their own data lake. So the client wants to own their data. The trouble is it's over here, and they can't get it to here. And they've got to make sure it's very secure between here and here. Now, and these are all in, and I wrote in here, these are all in absolutely different databases. Some you've never heard of, some that they only wrote for that piece of product. So they're collecting their data in only the way they've ever done it. So you have to write a decoder for each and every one. And you have to get your IT teams to write it, to pull that data into a format that I can actually use it in, say, another system. And we're using Amazon Web Services back end, mainly because it's got very good security and it's got enormous scalability. And I kind of know where the data center is as well, so it's not too, at least it's in Sydney. So, so we're trying to realise this sort of integration of data for our clients at the moment. The clients are heavily, everyone's fixated, they've decided data is money. They don't know what sort of money or how to turn it into money, but they've decided data is money. So they want to hold it. Now for years, so bear in mind this building at the moment, every time this temperature sensor on the wall in here, no one tracks it. It may be trended in the BMS, but it rolls over and eventually dies because it runs out of space on the server, or they'll put a bigger server in and they'll keep it for eternity. But no one will ever do anything with it, and it just kind of sits there and sits there. And it's isolated, so it's isolated away from a large data set. No one's transferred it, no one's linked that temperature sensor to this room and necessarily to that package unit. And as I was talking in this meeting today, people kept on going, oh, I want to collect my data out of here into here. And I said, that's great, what do you want to collect? And they go, oh, I'm going to get, there's a thing called a JACE, which is a local control. It's got all this data on it. I will pull it all in. I said, that's great. So how do you know what it is? Like each point, how do you know what it is? How do you know how it relates to the other points? And this is where you get your second really good terminology, the data swamp. So you collected all this data in, but you structured it so poorly that now you've just got this enormous amount of data and you can't even derive any benefit from it because you didn't tag it properly, because you didn't structure it properly. Now, on the opposite side of the lake, there is in companies like, we work on this side, maybe sort of piling it in, but on the other side, we're happy to sit too, where we'll look into this data repository and we derive that data into value. And I'm saying, and I'm not saying it's the correct terminology, I'm saying you really have to understand how an HVAC system works, and Vasilis might be with me on this, before you can run analytics on it. If you don't know what an air conditioning unit is and how it works within the system of a building, how can you design algorithms or run analytics over the top? And I'm working on being convinced by data scientists, so one of my clients is going to set me up. He says he can just do it. They run these things and they see links, and they see links between data. And I had a major, or the biggest shopping centre group in Australia, one of their data scientists seemed to have spare time, and he ran data on their energy and temperature data. And then they came and told me they found this amazing correlation between temperature and energy. And I said, wow. I said, that's really good, because look, now, what can we do with this? And I'm like, well, I don't know, this is pretty new stuff. I said, have you tried heat and cooling degree days to give you a better way of, better way rather than just using external temperature? Then you can see heat. And he's going, what's that? And I'm like, okay, all right, Google it for a starter. It's heat and cooling degrees days, it's been around forever, it's a way of doing it. And I'm sitting there going, it's really nice ploughing data, but unless you know what it's about, and this is my belief at the moment, and I'll probably change it as I move on and someone proves me wrong, unless you actually know how it goes in or what it is you're looking at, you will struggle to derive benefits. People might go, hey, I'm looking at lifts. It's funny that when it's really, I get lots of people counters, my lifts run more. And I'm like, okay, so what? That's really useful. It's no good to anyone. It's a nice correlation. It links. Yes, we could have told you that already had you known that was a lift and that was a people counter. But you need to know what's going on to be able to derive value. Right, so this is just an air handling unit in a commercial building, but it gives you an idea. All these points, and these are just the points around one. There could be 20 or 30 in a building like this, but all these points have a relationship to each other. And when you pull the data out, you need to know this relationship. The relationship with these can pinpoint that this damper here has failed. Now, from a mechanical services company, I can send my guy out to just look at that. He doesn't look at the 6 temperature sensors. He doesn't have to look at anything else. If I know it's failed, I might send him out and so we do some Kington sites. 4 hours drive there, 4 hours drive back. If I know that this has failed, I'll put the part in the truck just in case, because I don't want to get there and have to drive 4 hours to get another part. So we can now do directed maintenance. we spend less time looking for issues, and we can get and fix a problem quickly. You will see it the next day. So normally you'd wait until someone complained, or in certain circumstances until you get your next electricity bill, that you'd see it had gone through the roof because your outside air damper, you were sucking in 40 degrees into the building because the damper failed and your air conditioning unit was running flat out. And you'd only know it when you got to your next electricity bill, which could be at the end of the month, or maybe if it's a small site, at the end of the quarter. And you wouldn't know this. So this is where analytics is coming in. You can start looking into buildings and seeing these things as they occur. I'll just touch on security. If you're talking about data and data flows and information, you really have to be talking full security, front to back. And it's one of the key things at the moment. I put this up, and I was going to do a straw poll. So who likes dashboards? Put your hand up if you like dashboards. Cool. How many do you like? How many could you deal with? So I can give you one dashboard. In a commercial building at the moment, I can give you 28 dashboards, maybe. I've got a new dashboard. New dashboard came to me just recently. Caroma have released a smart toilet. I can give you the dashboard of every toilet flush in the whole building. I can tell you if there's gastro on level 9. I can tell you if there's an outbreak on level 6. And I'm like, this is brilliant. And I'll put it up on your screen, and you can look at it and it'll flash red when there's a problem. And I'm like going, and the Caroma guy was telling me this, and I'm like, so what? Who cares? Do I care how? I want to know if there's a problem. Tell me the problem. Don't show me a dashboard. So you're a facilities manager. You've got 20 different separate systems. How many passwords can you actually remember? So now you've got down the side of your screen, next to your 15 dashboards, you've got all the passwords and all the logins, which then roll over every month because it's really secure and you have to update it, so you can't remember any of them. So this is where you get, and everyone loves it, and I'm a bit lost at the moment, everyone loves this, they want one. And honestly, dashboards sell analytics and sell these systems. Executives love them. If we've got any executives here. So they love these things. These sell jobs. They make people that feel they're getting value. But honestly, they're a waste of time. You don't want to see a dashboard. You want a dashboard maybe to show your boss? Like with the report, maybe to show your boss. But really, you just know, what do I need to do? Where is the problem? Tell me where the problem is. What's gone wrong? What do I need to do to fix it? So with the toilets, as I said to the Caroma guy, great. You've got all this toilet tracking. Fabulous. All I want, send me an email when a toilet's failed. I want it to come into my desktop, level 29, cubicle 6. It is likely this is the fault. I want a link at the bottom to one of your approved fixes. I want to hit that link. He'll send me a quote back. I can click another link. The quote gets approved. The guy goes out and fixes it. And like I said with the other thing, he knows which 3 parts to bring with him. Potentially because he knows it was like on the front of your dishwasher, you get a D49 fault. And he knows, geez, I need to bring on this part. That's what I want. I don't want a dashboard telling me about toilet use. But that is symptomatic of all of these dashboards, whether it's lighting, whether it's HVAC. Tell me what I need to do. Condense it down. Don't forget, people running buildings now are not technical anymore. They're just project managers. They used to have 3 engineers. The top guy used to know every system in the building. It's like when I was an apprentice. You know, you'd have an expert on the line who knew everything about it. It's changed now. You have people who don't know anything. And it's caused the contractors now stepped in. We're specialists in what we do. And there's a trust relationship, but we have to deliver. We have to be specialists. This is just workload. You have to remember you can't achieve any positive outcomes in a building unless someone physically turns up and does something. Analytics and all these things don't miraculously make things better. There's some bloke at the end of it with a spanner, often, or someone who might go in and reprogram a bit of code, but generally at the end of it, there is still someone who has to implement. And you have to work through a work order process, you have to generate outcomes. We actually have in Grosvenor, in our mobile phone, we've got our technicians, when they go to site, they can actually see the analytics generated issues as part of their normal maintenance rounds, and it pops up on their phone as what we call a virtual technician issue that they can follow up and look at. So this is just that's the app that runs through. I'll just take you on to what it looks like. right? I was going to see if I could do a live jump into it, but I haven't got my laptop. So this is what happens. We take multiple data streams, and in this time, we've got weather coming in. We've got the volume of water. It's a sub-meter at 321 Ken Street on cooling tower 221 and 222, base building. We were observing the operation running as per normal, but then we saw a high water usage over a period of time. And because it triggered one of our algorithms that looks at water usage outside operational hours, it flags. So he got a blue water meter high base load overall. Now that's an algorithm. Someone wrote this algorithm to see jumps in water usage and dumps outside normal hours. So now we'll talk a little bit about machine learning and whether it's actually true or not, but this is something that they can do. They can see that it's not normally running at that level and it ran at that level. So fortunately, because this site is one of our ones in the CBD, we flagged that within the day that it had occurred. We issued the technician who has responsibility for that site. He got an email sent to him with this picture showing him that it had gone up. Someone in our office validates it, make sure it's not noise. If you've ever dealt with BMS alarms and you get 50 of them in like half an hour and you go, oh, it becomes noise. So we actually validate and we consolidate all the options. But this is a guy going out to site, fixing the issue, and then we manage to resolve it. And this is what shows up on the analytics engine. But on the other side, our technician gets this picture sent to his phone and he can see it. People like to sort of see it and understand it. Look, it could have been that they were doing a specialist cooling tower clean at the time and they were refilling it. And he might have gone, oh good, no worries, it's all good, don't worry about it. And he can actually allocate on his phone and reallocate and say, not a problem, fixed now, don't have to worry about it, and put it on hold. Now, we have buildings that we've been working with for 10 years. I've done 2 energy audits on them. We do the NABERS ratings every year and we overlaid analytics on it. It's one of the big AMP buildings when you come over the bridge. Actually, the only one now. And I thought it would all be great. Analytics won't find anything. We were pretty, oh man, we found 3 water leaks. We found the building starting in the morning, opening up all the dampers, pushing cold air in winter, only to then flip back into normal mode and then try and heat the building up. And we didn't realise it was occurring. So it was an optimum start-stop that had got a little bit out of control. But we found these things, we never realised it. And you're sort of sitting there with your customer going, and I'm a big one for just being honest about it. Look, if we didn't see it, we didn't see it. And this is the value of doing these things. It will find things. We used to say before, it's, if you're doing your job right, you don't need this sort of stuff. But you can only do so much, and you can't go through every single BMS point. On these sites, there's 6,000 of them we might be pulling in. You can't go through all of them all of the time. This is a performance optimization. So we not only do faults or water leaks, we try and optimize performance. So this is a supply air fan in a building. It's pushing air down to try and get air to keep areas cool. And what our technician did was they had a set point of 75 kPa. So it only adjusted it down. So we slowed this fan down until we found out we weren't supplying enough air to the space, and we just sort of left it at the lower level. But then we now have this one fan, which could be a 40 kilowatt motor, could be running significantly lower for a lot of the time. So we're trying to tune, these are not inefficient buildings. So if you know your NABERS ratings, most of these will be running at 4 or 4.5 stars, which is above average, even in Australia at the moment, it's still above average. And some are even 5. So you're now trying to find the last bits and bobs, the last pieces that can actually tune out and reduce energy consumption that little bit further in a building. And you're using all these data streams feeding into you to assist you in checking that can happen. So, and these are things, we put up, sometimes you get valves which we have a thing called hunting. So it can't quite find temperature, so it keeps opening and closing and opening and closing. And if you have it with like a chiller or a large piece, it's like jarring it, and it actually reduces the length of the piece of equipment. And we found, so unless your technician quite literally stands in front of this valve and goes, yeah, opened, yeah, closed, and maybe you noted it down, you'd struggle to know. You'd have to either just hear it going in a plant room or something. You'd be very lucky to pick it up. But Analytics picks these things up easy. You just run your algorithm to go on and off more than 3 times in 2 minutes. and suddenly it just goes whoosh, and you get all of these valves that have been hunting for years and no one knew about it. So then we adjust programming, we adjust delays, we adjust feedback loops. So it's a level of insight that you never got from a technician before. These things relate to energy, so you may be overcooling, undercooling, overcooling throughout the day rather than giving a constant supply. We're also very driven by making sure people are comfortable in their space, and you know, they don't have to worry whether it's hot or cold as the day goes on. Now, I wanted to just touch on machine learning. Every time I hear people go machine learning and this machine, I think people forget what it is, and we have some machine learning algorithms, but they're not as complex as you might think. So running a rolling average on a piece of data and then comparing against that average, whether it's 5% above and it goes to 20% above, that's a form of machine learning. Very simple. Complex machine learning, I've seen some people who think it's complex, but it just tends to be a little bit more statistical than that. You can do it, there's a lot out there, but at the moment we're only doing relatively simple calculations. Did I put one in? Yeah, this was an example of machine learning we did. Literally, it was just a cold water riser on one of our buildings, and it was running at this level. It had run at that level for a number of weeks, so our average was running along here, and then it suddenly went super high. So it raises an alarm. Now, this could be new tenant moved on to the high rise of the building, you know, another 400 people, they're using more water. But so then we go, does anyone know what happened on so-and-so date? So we actually picked it up the second week after we saw it. So we let it run for a bit, just to make sure it wasn't an anomaly. And then we raised it as a flag. I thought I was being a hero, was it yesterday morning? I was like, look at this. I sit next to my optimization guy for this building. I was like, look at this, I found this. And he goes, man, it was on the report like 2 months ago. I'm like, maybe I should read the report, right? But this is a machine learning algorithm. The next one that you'll hear, and I'll just touch on this, but they seem to like this one. And I thought this was a great picture. So whenever people talk about AI, they like talking about muffins and chihuahuas. And I love this when I saw it. So I think, and I was trying to figure out why. So they're saying, look, at the moment, the best AI in the world has a 70% hit rate on muffins and chihuahuas. So they can identify muffins and chihuahuas on a 70% rate, compare between the two. A 3-year-old child beats that. They can pick out muffins and chihuahuas separately quite comfortably. And certainly my 3-year-old can eat muffins no problem and hasn't tried to eat a chihuahua yet. So, but what I'm trying to sort of get across here is that AI, everyone will talk about AI, it is not easy. And you're talking enormous engines. You know, we're pretty simple engineers. We will, when it comes to using these things, we'll probably have to look to the Googles or Azure. There's people out there trying to drive these. But at the moment, I've got small companies, I do AI. And I'm like sitting there going, good. You have to be a little bit careful of terminologies. Machine learning and AI are a bit overused at the moment in our analytics space. And I think it's an overused term generally. You know, I'd like to see when we are dropping these things in around data and around machine learning, that you really need to be a bit careful with your dropping in AI. And sorry, this was just I did my own dashboard, so I'm not one. I wrote a dashboard and just send the email when they need to see it. But people like seeing their data every day, and I send this out to about 100 odd buildings a day, just telling them how they're going against their current neighbours rating targets. So they actually see, the facilities guys on site. So we're actually we've got our analytics to do our tracking and our reduction in energy and all this. We've got this so people can actually see, local people can see what's happening day to day. So they can see what's occurring on the building, whether they're tracking. At the moment, if you're running a commercial building and you're sitting there going, am I going to keep 4.5 star or not? Because the star rating on a building defies the value of the building, and if you drop 0.5 star in certain funds, you've either got to go right back and revalue the asset, or you may be a 5. Or actually, one of my favourites was someone had a 5-star fund. All the buildings were 5-star, and then it dropped to 4. One building dropped to 4.5. So they had to inform all the investors. So after that, they were keen to see every day whether they were running at 5-star, and that's what I wrote this for. But I think we're just using this as a test for people at the moment. And that was kind of my slide. I don't know how long I went for.
Perfect.
Any questions? Sorry. I don't know you. Hey, Phyllis.
Hi. I want to ask you about this analytics stuff that you're doing is really focused on building tuning, correct?
Building tuning, fault diagnosis, yeah.
Sure. 2 questions. What are the typical savings that you've seen from some of the examples after using this on commercial buildings? I know it's how long's a piece of string?
No. Sorry, we did a building portfolio of 12 buildings in the CBD. So 12 large commercial buildings. Most of them were, when we picked them up, we're running it between 4 and 5 stars, neighbours. We're talking big. We're talking over 20,000 square metres each one. We ran analytics, an independent company, NDY, reviewed us and a different analytics provider during the first 2 years of operation. And there was a summary report at the end of it. I actually have the data, but essentially we managed to reduce BMS maintenance contract costs by 20%. We managed to reduce the mechanical costs by 10%. So we charge people to go and diagnose stuff as a mechanical company. Now, when you know what the fault is, you don't have to send a guy out to find out what the fault is. So that's 3 hours saved or 2 hours saved. So reduce money that way. They found out they got something like 0.3 of a star average performance agreement across the portfolio. And the figure was for energy and water savings across the 12 buildings was $530,000 per annum. So it was a reasonably chunky figure. So it essentially paid for itself in the first year. And that was back when, so people are integrating with 15 different BMS systems, which all have different internal protocols. So now the cost of install has dropped dramatically because we've worked out all the bugs. We've worked ways around some of the obstacles that were put in place. So you get good payback on it.
Cool. And my second question is a more practical nature. When you've got a valve that's opening 3 times every 2 minutes, give me 2 practical examples of why that occurred and how you solved it.
Why it occurred, I think because the algorithms get wrong readings. So they're trying to maintain a supply air temp, and they don't have, this is back in my electronics days, but they don't have the right formula for smoothing out that information. The problem is, though, you're still letting chilled water go through on a up and down. So the supply air temperature starts varying. So you've got this air going down at different temps, hits the VAV boxes, which distribute air into an area. They start moving up and down, trying to cope with the supply air temperature moving up and down. So now I've got, the more stuff we have moving, the more...
building moves.
well, the building moves, but also you get wear and tear on the pieces of equipment. So that was where we found it. We had chillers cycling as well. So chillers running on low load shouldn't have been running at all. So we had false cooling clauses in buildings, temperature sensors failing, or wrong programming. So one small room started up, told the chillers to start, massive chiller, and just for one room. And then we've got this chiller starting and stopping. And then we've got the whole system going all over the place. So those are the kind of scenarios where we get it quite regularly. Any questions?
How new is all this, the ability to do all this, and how quickly is it changing? Is it moving rapidly? Is it new technology?
It depends who you speak to. Look, the analytics, these engines have been around I've seen them for at least 4 or 5 years. We sat down 7 years ago and started writing algorithms for asset management and for managing pieces of equipment. It's taken us 4 years or 3 or 4 years, and we're not the fastest tech movers. We've got another job to do at the same time to actually get to putting them on buildings. It's kicked off in the commercial building space, and I live in buildings mainly, so I can't talk. I do know my child's coach. He does analytics on big banks. But, you know, when you phone up your bank to speak to the operator, you know, when they say, would you like to record this call, blah, blah, blah. When they record it, and you say, they actually run analytics over all the words used in that call as well. So a lot of the people don't even realise when they're being captured data. But in this context, it is moving quite quick. I've seen a lot of movement just in the last year, but more about data. Data, I want it, it's mine, give it to me, I want to keep it. Whereas no one cared before. We've been trying to push data down clients' throats for 15 years and no one cared. And then we had all this man-made data. Do you want it? We'll give it to you. You need it? No, don't stop bringing it to me. Just leave me alone. I don't want it. So I had someone today though. If you speak to like the big telcos, oh, it's just going to accelerate. I believe it when I see it. I'm pretty old school and pretty pessimistic. Everyone will say it's all brilliant, but all they're doing is just putting rebadging. I think the best question to ask, what value are you getting out of it? I sat in a conference and someone talked data the whole day, and no one took value. They just wanted to collect it. And I'm like, well, and then the value will come. It's like it's miraculous, like waving the wand. I think everyone thinks it's going to miraculously convert into value, and I think when they try and convert this data into value, they're going to get a big awakening that they collected it in the wrong way, and they're going to have to start again. You really should be converting at the same time to see what you got wrong, because that's what we've been doing. So for that, we've been collecting data and reviewing our own data and going, damn, we forgot to ask that. And then we changed it and we collected that too. And then so it's going to be iterative to get to the value stage, unless AMI steps up to a level that can self-commission buildings, I'll believe it when I see it. It's, I think they used to say autonomous cars, the hardest thing was getting the robot to get in the car. But now they've realised they don't need to get them in anymore. You just get them to drive themselves. So maybe it'll come with stuff like that. I mean, I'm a big autonomous car fan. I'm still driving a crap car, thinking, come on, I don't have to drive soon at all. I hate driving. It drives me up the wall. But I think stuff like that may drive the AI, because there's a heap of money in it. There's not enough money in this. And whilst it's assets and there's billions of dollars in assets, more technology will be driven by being able to destroy a whole driving industry, and the billions of dollars that sit in that just sucks. So we'll get it's like defence spending, we'll get the bits left at the end. Once they learn how to do it, they'll just take one out of a car and they'll stick it in a commercial building and go, hey, it does this pretty well, doesn't it? So yeah, I think that's maybe when it'll have more step changes.
Thank you.
One other question. How small buildings are they going into, like schools or other smaller buildings that use this sort of stuff?
Yes, small buildings represent an issue. They don't have BMSs, so they don't have an integrated BMS system you can jump into. So Grosvenor, and we do a lot of bank branches. We do used to do all the New South Wales schools, and we have thousands upon thousands of package units. We have developed actually our own, because we couldn't find one that suited us, a modified temperature sensor that's a Zigbee Pi that runs on a mesh network back to a central hub that can get data from individual. So often in schools it's splits in schools. I'm more dealing with package units. Splits run themselves, don't worry about it. They're almost like what you have at my mum and dad's house. But in package units, like on the top of a CommBank branch, we are actually dropping these on, because not so much, don't forget their energy spend's really low. So if you can reduce $2,500 or $3,500 a year down by 50%, it's not that much money anyway. You've got to be very careful what you put on, because you can create more maintenance issues with the box that you put on than there were maintenance issues with the unit itself. So you can't just put cheap stuff on. There's so many considerations, and then you can bring all the data back. So we're doing it for one of the third largest supermarket chain in Australia. We can now sit and pull out a phone and see all of the systems on their sites. But that's a larger site again than a school. They've got multiple package units for refrigeration and lighting. We're running analytics on those now, but it's not so much money in it. It's really, we had to develop ourselves to get down to the price point we wanted and get the install we wanted. So we now have our own little, it's like a modified temperature hub that bolts onto a site. You also don't want an electrician to install it, because that's a cost, huge cost. So we wanted one of our own technicians who can do disconnect, reconnect, go up, drop it on a site, and do that when he goes and does his maintenance. And then it can automatically mesh network back to the hub. We're rolling out trials. We do have trials underway at the moment on this type of technology, but that's energy and maintenance driven. So your bigger problems with your small portfolios, so like I was working with a large pet store that had 300 branches around Australia, their biggest problem is they didn't turn off their air conditioning at night. All the time they put the cheapest piece of crappy timer on, that every time there was a lightning strike or a power outage just flicked it on. And so it's very common. And then the air conditioning runs for 3 months until someone gets a power bill. So it was more, that was just more getting their main incoming meter upgraded to a smart meter and just running literally my GEMS, the thing I wrote does exception reporting, and it'll send you an email every time you leave it on overnight. As long as you're not stock taking late, it can cause problems with that. But those are better solutions from an energy perspective on small sites and even on schools. There's a solar schools program that was out that was putting a lot of sub-metering in schools. We did some installs around that, and they used their solar hub, which was tracking the solar system, to then use that same hub to pull through sub-meter data from different areas. But I've got kids in school. Do you know? I've got kids in school at the moment. My kids turn off all the lights in our house. They were given one of my kids got given the job of being the light switch monitor for that week. So his job was that when everyone left the classroom, he had to turn off the lights. They turn off the lights. I find it hilarious. My wife doesn't, but the kids do. So it's brilliant. Like schools are schools are doing some really good stuff with the kids. It's like my children telling my mother-in-law how to recycle. It's awesome. I let them go, because when I do it, no one listens. When I moan at everyone, but when the kids say it, everyone listens. Sorry, was that? Two questions. Cool.
Any more questions, anyone?